What's doing? I'm Alec. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. You're about to listen to a previously recorded interview that I did back in October of 2019 with First Class Father and Medal of Honor recipient Ed Byers. Ed served with the legendary SEAL Team 6 unit. He received the Medal of Honor on a daring rescue mission to save the life of Dr. Dilip Joseph. My next uploaded video is going to be my interview with Dr. Dilip Joseph himself, so make sure you tap that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on that. Unfortunately, we lost a true American hero. Navy SEAL Nicholas Check was killed on the mission. Ed Byers received the Medal of Honor for it. So let's hit this interview right now with First Class Father, Medal of Honor recipient Ed Byers, right here on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father Ed Byers. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here.
All right, let's start here. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
We have one daughter. Her name is Hannah. She's 14 years old. Just started high school.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I have four myself. My oldest is 13. We'll be hitting that high school year next year, so we're bracing for impact on that.
You have a lot more on your plate than I do. That's for sure. Four kids. My sister, both my sisters have four kids. So.
Oh wow.
Grew up
Okay.
around a big family.
Yeah, that's awesome. What type of sports or activities is Hannah into?
Well, she's a competitive figure skater, and currently, right now, she's up in Philadelphia doing the regional competitions for figure skating. So she's been doing that now, going on 9+ years, and we're all in and committed on that front. You know, hopefully, God willing, and she keeps going with it and keeps progressing the way she has, and she wants to eventually skate for Team USA and go to the Olympics one day.
Wow, what an incredible goal that is! Now, are you a skater? Do you ever throw the skates on and get out in the rink there with her?
That would be embarrassing if I did that. For sure. No, I realized a couple years into it, when she just fell in love with it, that when she could pull me skating backwards faster than I could skate forward, I was like, you know what? There's nothing more I have to teach her when it comes to skating. I grew up playing pond hockey in Northwest Ohio, but that was about the extent of skating. So nothing formal. And then, you know, as the older you get and the harder it becomes to learn those nuances, especially that's required to do something like figure skating or skating in general. So I leave that to her.
Yeah, I hear you there. My middle son is we just got him skating lessons. He just started doing them over the summer, and I've never been on skates in my life, so I'm not about to start now.
I get out there every once in a while when she begs and pleads with me. I was like, okay, I'll get out there, and then she just, you know, laughed at me like a good kid should at her father. You know, laughed at me on the ice. Right, and then she's gracious and she tries to teach me a few things here and there, which so I'm still trying to learn how to do spins. Very,
all right. Very cool. All right, Ed, if you could, just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background.
A little bit about me. So, I'm 40 years old, just turned 40. I grew up in Northwest Ohio on a farm in Grand Rapids, Ohio. So about an hour south of Michigan. I joined the military. Well, I joined the military when I was 19. I always knew from early on that I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. And when I joined, however, the rating back then, you had ratings in the Navy, which you still do, but the SEAL community did not have their own rating. So I decided to come in as a hospital corpsman, which is the Army's equivalent of a medic. And I did that simply because, like a good kid, it's about the one thing I listened to my mother about. And he's like, well, if you don't like the military, you can always get out and so take a job that you can do something on the outside with. So I picked medicine initially, but my intent was to be a SEAL from the very get-go. So I had to wait, though, because they were overmanned with hospital corpsmen. The SEAL community was overmanned. And I did my first tour pre 9/11 and a little bit after 9/11 with 2nd Marines, 2nd Battalion, so 2-2 Golf Company down in Camp Lejeune. And shortly after 9/11, I got my orders to finally go to BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, and that was my journey to be a SEAL. So from early 2002 till this year, I was a SEAL and did multiple deployments around the world. And in 2016, I was awarded the Medal of Honor for a hostage rescue mission that we conducted to save an American doctor in 2012. So that is, in a nutshell, my military background. I've been married since 2004. Good thing I got that one right. I'd be getting a beating from my wife later. And 2005, we had our daughter Hannah, and shortly after she was born is when I started basically my wartime deployments and did that for the next 10 years of her life. So, like I mentioned earlier, our daughter is a competitive figure skater, and that's what the majority of focus is with my wife, besides her going to get her MBA in nonprofits. And I am currently transitioning out of the military after 21 years of service, and also going to get my business degree and to start my own company and see where life takes me in the next chapter.
Yeah, what an awesome journey that you've had here, Ed, and thank you so much for your service. And you've had some, I would imagine, just some incredible experiences as a Navy SEAL over your career. But how did the experience? About how old were you when you first became a dad then, and how did becoming a dad kind of change your perspective on life?
Yeah, so I first became a father when in 2005, and that would put me at about, I think I was 25 at the time. So there was a lot of life changes all happening at once. Like I said, I got married the year prior. So shortly after we got married, we got pregnant. And so I got married, bought my first home. We bought our first home. We moved across the country, and I checked into my first SEAL team and had our first kid all in the same year, basically. So I started my professional career, got married, bought my first home, had a kid, and was prepping for my first wartime deployment. We did that all in our first year together as a family. So kind of puts things in perspective. Any one of those things is a life changer for a family and can consume, be the all-consuming aspect of their life. And we had about 4 major things happening all at once. But you just put your head down and you just get after it. How that affected me as a man and as a person was shocking. We weren't expecting to get pregnant, and it was I've never really told this to anybody, just simply because it wasn't a forum for it to come up. But it was kind of funny when we first got married. I remember going out to the mailbox and bringing back in the mail, and there was something from my wife, and I was like, it was one of those, lots of things on your mind. We just moved in, like I just mentioned. We had a lot of things going on, and I remember looking at the mailer, and it said, my wife's name with my last name, and I was like, who is this Madison Byers person? Because that was like one of the first times I've seen it with her name on a piece of mailer. So, and she just looked at me and was like, what the heck it goes on in your mind? And I was like, I've just never seen that. It was a shock to me. It was a shock to see that, okay, you make that transition, you finally get married. That's the next step in life of like growing up. And then, and having much more responsibility now. You're in a partnership and that, a full blown relationship. So when we got pregnant, and my wife told me that this was shortly after we had just did all these other major things, and I was pretty much in shock. Like, wait, what? Wasn't ready for this. I'm in my mid-20s, there's way too many things happening. I'm full-blown into my lifelong dream to be a SEAL now as a new guy. There's so many responsibilities coming that, and still having to prove yourself and be a good teammate, and just starting off a marriage, and what's that like, and what happened to our honeymoon, and where's our honeymoon period, like of being able to be the dink, the dual income and no kids family, and to live life a little bit, and to have some pressure relief from the realities that we are now in a post 9/11 world, and off to war we go for the first time, and who knows what's going to turn out from that. So it was shocking. It was pretty shocking to figure out I was going to be a dad right away, but I wouldn't have changed anything for the world. It's one of those scenarios that if you keep saying, hey, now's not the right time, you're going to wake up and it's going to be too late. My father was 53 when he had me, and we didn't have that storied family dynamic that you think of a father and a son, because by the time I was 10 years old, he was approaching 60, and he did construction. So it wasn't like we went to baseball games together or anything like that. And so I'm actually very happy that, we had our daughter at the age I did. So now that as I'm transitioning out of the military, and she's going to grow up and to be this incredible young woman, that I'll be at an age where I can actually go do stuff with her and be more connected with her, something I didn't have with my father too. So that part of me is very excited.
Yeah, that's cool, Ed, and I'm right there with you. My father had me when he was 50 years old, so my parents were older as well, and, unfortunately they passed away before I even met my wife and had kids, so that's one of the things, and I had kids fairly young too. I was 25 when I started having kids, so, I'm right there along with you. Now, were you able to be present when your daughter was born, or were you on a deployment when that happened?
Yeah, I was present. So that's one thing we do really well in the Naval Special Warfare community is understanding, life's already hard enough as it is. Typically, you're gone 300 days a year. And these are moments in time where you don't ever get back. And you can never go back and go, you can always do another trip. You can always go on a different vacation. Heck, you can always take another honeymoon if that's what was needed, if that was messed up. You can never go back and go, I want to be there for the birth of my kid again. So at least from my experience, which I'm very grateful for, we've always made it a point, even in times of adversity and war, that, there's really nothing that important going on in the world that supersedes not being there for the birth of your kid. Because when it's all said and done, and if you're lucky enough to make it through it all and survive 20 years down the road, the military is not going to be there for you. That's just a reality. But your family, your kids are, hopefully. and to know that you were there to be there for them that's the most important thing. So thankfully I was there for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what about as far as when you received the Medal of Honor? Was your daughter present? What was that like to have your family present there when you received the Medal of Honor?
Yeah, they were absolutely there, and that's today's day and age, and thankfully it's something that will be forever remembered. Anyone can look up that ceremony online, and anyone can sit and watch the event if they wanted to, and I have pictures in the house. I don't care who's in office. I'm impartial to that. It's still the President of the United States, and I respect the position as Commander-in-Chief, and it's really cool no matter who that is, that my daughter was able to meet him. So she's now in her lifetime met both presidents of her, and in her life. So she got to be in the Oval Office, with President Obama, and able to take pictures with him, and there's a great picture where she's looking up at him because he's just so much taller. And that was a really cool experience. And he talked about her during the ceremony, which is really cool. So to have her, acknowledged and understand that our kids also carry a tremendous sacrifice and burden by being, children of the military, and in particular, Naval Special Warfare, the SEAL community, and what that life is like, and to be recognized for that is pretty cool, especially by the President of the United States.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I'm going to include a link in the description of this podcast episode to the video. This way my listeners can just tap it, get over there and check out what you're talking about. And was there any, after the incident which you did eventually receive the Medal of Honor for, was there ever any consideration for you to leave the teams, or were you set on having a 20-year career all the way?
Well, I was always, my vision was, I never envisioned doing anything else in my life. So, as far as I was concerned, I was going to be a SEAL for 30 years, and till they kicked me out type scenario. And you never join the military for recognition or accolades or awards or honors. And at least I never did that. I did it very holistically. I just wanted to be part of the best and part of an incredible community, which I had the privilege of serving alongside the greatest warriors on the face of the planet for many, many years. And so when the operation happened, now that was 2012, you don't know about that you're going to receive something like this at that time. And so you just went about your business, and it wasn't until about 2015, late 2015, that I started to get word that this might happen. So, anytime the Medal of Honor process takes years of peer-reviewed investigations and investigations with peers that were there to validate the actions. So 2015 meant I was getting close to 2016 means I was going on about getting close to 18 years in military. So there was absolutely no way I was going to get out at that point. That just ridiculous. And then there was still some talk of the potential of how do you still do your job as a SEAL, being a recipient. And the cold hard reality is, unfortunately, you don't. So there's some unwritten rules about the viability of being able to still continue your job in that capacity. So, you roll with the changing winds and the tides, and it became a realization that you're going to have to give up something you fundamentally love because you received a unfathomable honor, and that's just it's bittersweet duality there between those two, and you just take it as your next mission step, and you can sulk on it, or you can drive forward and realize that it is what it is, and you're grateful for everything you have around you, and maybe you can make a lot of impact and change with this honor that you have, and that you wouldn't have been able to do without it. So that really became the driving force of why I decided to get out.
Yeah, I think Tommy Norris said it very well when he said it's harder to wear it than it was to earn it. So I can only imagine, the conflicting points of view and feelings and emotion that go along with receiving something such as the Medal of Honor.
Yeah, Tommy hits it right nail on the head with that one for sure. Wise man, without a doubt, and yeah, I got it. Before I received it, I got a chance to speak with him one-on-one for quite a long amount of time, and just imparted a lot of knowledge. And he's exactly right. It's much harder to wear it than to earn it, because all the complexities that come with it. It's an incredible honor, but with incredible honor comes incredible responsibility, and it's something that you technically don't ever get to put down. It's part of your who you are, which becomes part of your DNA for the rest of your life. Yeah,
well said. And let me rein it back in here to you as a father. I usually like to ask the dads about discipline. I have 3 boys, then I had the girl, and I definitely disciplined my daughter a lot different than I did with, do with my boys. What type of disciplinarian are you when it comes to being a dad?
I'm hard, but fair. I would say that my wife is the disciplinarian just because they spend so much time together. We have an extremely talented daughter, and I know parents say that about our kids all the time. But she's lived a pretty hard life, not having, your father in the picture as much, and then understanding that the complexities of war that surround that. And so both my wife and I wanted to raise a child, a woman, nonetheless, to someone that could take care of themselves, and understand that, unfortunately, you're not going to have any brothers and sisters in this world, and you need to be confident in who you are, and self-reliant and disciplined, and you have to work hard because nothing in life is ever given to you. And if you want to achieve your dreams, you have to sacrifice, period. And that means there's a balance between, being tough and hard, and also being able to let loose and have fun and enjoy the smaller things in life, So it's the discipline piece is unique because she chose a sport that requires tremendous discipline, and it's a lonely sport. It's a solo sport. You're constantly the center of attention in sport, which means you're constantly being judged on every little thing you do. There's no hiding in the shadows like in a team sport, where there might be a little gray area to get some relief. It's you either sink or swim, and so you just try to instill some of the values that I've learned over the years of what it takes to be an elite. So in the teams, it's always like, team gear, your gear, then yourself. And that's the order of which you take care of things. And because that's always focused towards the team, and trying to make her understand that even though you do a solo sport, you still are part of a team. There's a team of people around you that are your support structure, that are trying to give you all the tools, or as many tools as possible to help you succeed. But it's always incumbent upon you as the child or the athlete that it's you're the one ultimately responsible of utilizing those tools to if that's what you want to do in life. And so I would say I'm a little bit more of the jokester. I have a much more lighthearted personality, and maybe that is because of years of war. You have to have some sort of relief, but at the same time, being stern and hard, and that there's realities in the world that need to be taught. And so it's a balance back and forth. And thankfully, she still loves to run and give me hugs and, sit on my lap, and we can just hang out together all the time. And she hasn't got into pushing me away yet, which I think is a win so far, and hopefully that never changes.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that, Ed. And I can only imagine how nerve-wracking it must be to watch her in competition, and how much, as the competition eventually progresses here, how much more it will be to be sitting in the stands there watching her go through this. So I think she has the right dad for the job there with that.
Yeah, that part's really on her mother. She does an awesome job of balancing all that, and it's truly exciting though to see your kid or kids doing something they love. We don't push it on her. We always tell her, hey, if you see through what it is you want to do, but like say at the end of the year you don't want to do it anymore, that's on you. But it's just we love and support you no matter what. You're here, but here are some realities that if you want to do this, you are, that you have to make some sacrifices and be disciplined and work extremely hard.
Yeah, very well said. Do you ever get in there with braiding the hair or doing the hair? I know I've gotten as far as the ponytail. That's the extent of me.
No, I don't do that at all. No, that's not my lane. I stay in my lane. I can be a good teammate as well as a good team leader. And being a good teammate means I don't mess with that. Sometimes I brush her hair, but that's about it.
Okay, good enough. Well, you've had obviously a tremendous career here in the SEAL teams. What kind of goals or plans do you have now for yourself for the future, Ed?
My number one goal is really just to make up for a lot of lost time with my family, particularly my daughter, and to be more of a staple in their lives. I still travel a lot for work. I mean, there obviously is a continuous necessity to provide for your family. So it's no secret that living 2 decades as on a government paycheck doesn't really pad the bank account for retirement and or saving for college or anything like that. So there's some ground to make up there, which you gotta work hard for that too. So, but it really is my goal to be more involved and be around in a manner like which I didn't have the opportunity when you do the job that I've done for 2 decades. So that's priority one. Second one is really focusing back on relationships, those that have faded away, and by the nature of the job again, and building out a business, and ultimately a business that can really help pay it forward by hiring veterans and and those who have sacrificed so much and give them extremely good paying jobs and purpose again. So many, because there's so many veterans out there that lose their ways, and the purpose falls away because they try to compare it to the purpose of serving your country and just what 9/11 meant to us as a nation. And so there's lots of struggles with that. So being able to scale out a corporation that can really, highlight the values and characteristics that are acquired by being in the military and a veteran, and provide jobs and support structures through that, which will ultimately lead into a charitable organization that focuses on some gaps that are out there with current VSOs, Veteran Service Organizations. So that's the long-term goals, and just continuously being a father to my daughter and being there in whatever manner she needs.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's great to see that you'll be involved. I've had so many other veterans that are on the show here that are helping other veterans transition. There's been, since 9/11, there's been so much sacrifice by so many men and women, and I can assure you that me and my family, we don't take our freedom for granted here, and we are very thankful for everything that has been done, on behalf of all the citizens of America here by you and your teammates there. So, again, I want to say thank you for your service. And the last thing I want to hit you with here, Ed, I'd love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new father or for that about-to-be dad who's out there listening?
Don't be too hard on yourself. I mean, there's a reason why there's thousands of books on parenting. At the end of the day, there's some great advice, but every scenario is unique. Every family dynamic is unique. Just be there, be loving, be supporting. If you have a good foundation and who you are, use those values to teach your kids that. And outside of that is you don't have to get wrapped in the weeds of, being so hard that everything needs to be perfect, because that's just not reality. And just be there and learn how to effectively communicate with your child. And I think the greatest reward out of that is when, you can get 15 years down the road and your children still want to talk to you. They still want to share with you. They want to be a part of you, and they're not, head down and electronics, or try to do everything they can to avoid you, because frankly that's kind of the way I was growing up. I didn't have that super close relationship with my father until I was an adult and in the military, and then it really became much closer. So I didn't really read a whole lot of parenting books. There wasn't time for that. I just tried to be me and just be there for my kid in the way that she needed it.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been an extreme high honor for me. I got to say, Ed Byers, you're a first-class father, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time on First Class Fatherhood.
Oh, thanks, Alec. I appreciate the opportunity.